And then I went to my mom after a few days of this not subsiding, and I said, "Mom, I think my brain is swelling, and I want you to believe me." Shortly thereafter, I was hospitalized with hydrocephalus due to an arachnoid brain cyst.
Tyler Henry has spent years convincing the world he can see beyond this life, but now he is facing a brutal health crisis so rare doctors say it strikes only 1 in 3 million people. A condition so frightening it could take away the ability that makes him famous. What they found deep inside his brain is not just putting his future at risk. It may have revealed something far more unsettling, because Tyler now believes the very thing threatening his life may also be the source of his psychic abilities. A life marked by controversies. Tyler Henry Colewin was barely out of his teenage years when he became one of the most famous faces in the world of psychic readings. He first appeared on Keeping Up with the Kardashians in November 2015, giving a reading to one of the sisters. Everyone was fascinated by the young man who claimed he could communicate with the dead, and within months, he had his own show. Hollywood Medium with Tyler Henry premiered on E! On January 24, 2016, exactly 1 week after his 20th birthday. The show became the network's largest launch of a non-spin-off unscripted series in 3 years, with 3.2 million viewers tuning in for the 3rd episode alone. He followed up with a Netflix series called Life After Death with Tyler Henry in March 2022, which ran for 9 episodes, and another series called Live from the Other Side in 2024. He wrote 2 books, Between Two Worlds and Here and Hereafter, both published by Simon & Schuster. His estimated annual income sits at approximately $3 million from television, tours, private consultations, and book sales. His celebrity clientele list is filled with the who's who of Hollywood: the Kardashian Jenners, Boy George, Eva Longoria, Jim Parsons, Sofia Vergara, Rebel Wilson, Lizzo, Howie Mandel, Nancy Grace, Matt Lauer, Megan Fox, Chrissy Metz, Bobby Brown, Corey Feldman. The list goes on. These are some of the most successful and powerful names in entertainment, all of them willing to sit down with Tyler Henry and let him read them. Despite his many successes, Tyler Henry has had to deal with a level of skepticism that would crush most people. When asked about the critics, Henry made it clear that he is very content with people asking questions. But his critics are not content to just ask questions. They have been relentless. Dr. Stephen Novella, a neurologist and founder of the New England Skeptical Society, has called psychics like Henry Grief vampires. He says they claim to comfort the grieving while actually exploiting them. Novella argues that Henry wishes to inject made-up nonsense into a very delicate situation. He points out that Henry is not a trained counselor and that working with the grieving is tricky. Susan Gerbig, a fellow of the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, has published at least 7 detailed articles breaking down Henry's techniques. She describes his performances as a fabric of lies and accuses him of preying on families when they are the most desperate and vulnerable. John Oliver, the HBO host, has also actively criticized the rise of television psychics, including Henry, for exploiting vulnerable, grieving people. But one case stands out above the rest. Months before actor Alan Thicke died, Henry warned him about heart and blood pressure issues. He told Thicke that multiple men in his family had similar problems. Unfortunately, Thicke died on December 13, 2016, at age 69 from an aortic dissection. On the surface, it looked like a stunning prediction come true. But Susan Gerbig, writing in the Skeptical Inquirer, offered a different interpretation. She noted that immediately after the warning, Thicke joked that he was going to take that to heart, causing Henry to throw his head back and laugh. Gerbig argued that if Henry really thought Thicke's heart would give out only a couple months later, he should have been less flippant about it, and actually very stern. She also pointed out that heart disease is the #1 cause of death for American men, and so Henry was simply playing the odds. The criticism got so bad that surgical oncologist David Gorski wrote in an article that the next generation of psychic scammers had arrived, led by a handsome, boyish-looking 20-year-old who claimed to be a medical intuitive, someone who claims the innate ability to describe the cause of a physical or emotional condition through the perception or feeling of another's energy. These controversies have followed Tyler Henry for nearly a decade, yet he's still regarded as one of the most successful psychics in Hollywood. But for all his claimed abilities to sense illness and communicate with the other side, nothing could have prepared Tyler for what happened in 2014. Tyler Henry's first near-death experience. Tyler Henry was 18 years old, just 1 month past his birthday, when his life nearly ended before it really began. He went to the emergency room for what felt like a migraine, a bad headache that would not go away. He expected to be sent home with some medication and instructions to rest. Instead, doctors ordered a CT scan. The results came back, and the doctor who delivered them used a phrase that no patient ever wants to hear. The doctor told Henry that he was the most interesting case in the emergency room that day. The scan revealed a congenital brain cyst, specifically an arachnoid cyst that Tyler had been born with. This mass had been sitting inside his skull for 18 years without causing any trouble. But now, as he was stepping into adulthood, it had become a life-threatening problem. To make matters worse, the cyst had already caused him to have a stroke. He had been walking around with a brain cyst and a stroke, completely unaware. The timing of it all was almost cruel. The day before his diagnosis, Henry had jogged 2 miles and worked in his garden. He felt perfectly healthy. There was no warning sign or gradual decline, nothing that would have suggested his brain was under attack from a mass that had been hiding there since birth. One day, he was fine. The next day, he was being told he needed emergency brain surgery. The procedure itself was terrifying, but the worst part came after. The first night in the intensive care unit, Henry experienced a piercing headache that he has since described as the worst of his life. He was surrounded by beeping machines and concerned nurses, lying in a hospital bed with a fresh scar on his head, not knowing if he was going to survive. He later said that doctors often have a way of wording things in the most unsettling of ways. But the most unsettling part was not the surgery or the pain. It was not knowing what the grape-sized mass on his brainstem actually was. It could have been benign. It could have been something far worse. He had no control over the answer, and that lack of control was almost as difficult as the physical recovery. The experience changed him in ways that are difficult to put into words. He later confessed that without the inevitable brain surgery, he would not have had such a first-hand awareness of the fragility of life. It was an intimate reminder for him of the fine line dividing this realm and the next. The surgery taught him what he calls the importance of timing and trust. He learned that life can turn on a dime, that health can vanish overnight, and that the things people worry about on a daily basis are usually not the things that actually kill them. He has since offered advice based on what he learned in that hospital bed. Use your energy, focus, and concentration wisely, he said, because what you direct it at is what defines your life. But that near-death experience in 2014 was only the beginning. For more than a decade, Tyler Henry has lived with the aftermath of that brain cyst, that stroke, and that surgery. He has continued to work, to travel, to perform readings for celebrities and ordinary people alike. He has kept his health struggles mostly private. But recently, something extremely heartbreaking happened. A new diagnosis has emerged, one that may finally answer a question that has followed him his entire career. The question of where his abilities actually come from. Tyler's recent tragic breakdown. The year 2025 was supposed to be the happiest of Tyler Henry's life. He was planning to marry the man he had loved for nearly a decade. Instead, it became the most medically terrifying year he had ever experienced. On May 7, 2025, Henry married Clint Godwin, a professional photographer and his partner of more than 8 years. The couple had been dating since 2016 or 2017, building a life together away from the television cameras and the celebrity readings. The ceremony took place at the Beverly Hills courthouse. It was small, private, and deeply personal. As they signed the marriage papers, Clint looked up and saw the clock read 2:22. He later revealed that it was a sign from his late grandfather, a small moment of grace in the middle of a storm that was about to get much worse. Exactly 1 week later, on May 14, 2025, Henry went under the knife again. The diagnosis this time was a colloid tumor, also called a colloid cyst, located near the center of his brain in the third ventricle. The incidence rate of this tumor is 1 in 3 million. 3 million people, and only one of them gets this specific kind of growth. Henry was that one. The tumor was benign, which means it was not cancerous. But benign does not mean harmless. Colloid cysts become life-threatening by blocking the flow of cerebrospinal fluid, the clear liquid that surrounds and cushions the brain and spinal cord. When that fluid cannot move freely, pressure builds up inside the skull. That pressure can cause headaches, nausea, vision problems, seizures, and eventually death. The cyst did not need to be malignant to kill him. It just needed to be in the wrong place. After the surgery, Henry posted an update on Instagram. He wrote that the brain surgery was a success, that he had a great prognosis, and that the staff was incredible. He added that, thankfully, most of the tumor had been removed. But most is not all, and the part that remained would cause problems again very soon. Doctors prescribed 1 month of bed rest for a man who had spent his adult life traveling, performing, and working constantly. That was its own kind of torture. By July 2025, Henry was ready to talk about what had happened. In an interview with E! News, he disclosed a complication that had not been made public before. He was dealing with hydrocephalus, a condition where fluid gets stuck around the brain, causing inflammation. The symptoms were terrifying for someone whose entire career depends on clear thinking and precise communication. He experienced slowness in his responses. He could not find the right words when speaking. A condition called aphasia. Imagine being a medium, someone who claims to receive and transmit messages from the other side, and suddenly you cannot remember common words. That is not just a medical problem. It is an existential crisis. Henry initially worried that anything related to the brain might affect his ability. He thought that if the inflammation could slow his speech and cloud his thoughts, it might also block whatever connection he had to the other side. But then, something unexpected happened. As doctors treated the hydrocephalus and the inflammation began to subside, Henry discovered the opposite was true. Not having brain inflammation actually made things a lot clearer. The very condition that was trying to kill him had also been clouding his abilities. Removing the threat sharpened them. That revelation came in July. But the story did not end there. Over the next few months, the symptoms of swelling slowly returned. The headaches, the confusion, the difficulty finding the right words. His medical team determined that another surgery was the best option. On November 13, 2025, Henry went into surgery for the 3rd time. His husband Clint posted on Instagram that they say the 3rd time is a charm. It was meant to be optimistic, but underneath the cheerfulness was a very real fear. 3 brain surgeries, 2 of them in 6 months. 1 in 3 million odds for the original tumor. The numbers were not in his favor. The November surgery forced the cancellation of his December tour dates in Brooks, California. Fans who had bought tickets to see him perform were disappointed, but most understood. The man who claimed to communicate with the dead was fighting to stay among the living. The ultimate irony of Tyler Henry's medical history is almost too perfect to believe. For years, skeptics have asked where his abilities come from. Some say he is a fraud. Some say he is delusional. Some say he has simply learned to read people's body language and make educated guesses. Henry himself has publicly wondered if the cyst in his brain relates to his abilities at all. Is it possible that the very thing that makes him a medium is also the thing that has nearly killed him 3 times? The paradox is undeniable. The anomaly in his brain might give him his gift, and that same anomaly has repeatedly tried to end his life. The medical details are staggering. A congenital arachnoid cyst at 18 that caused a stroke. A colloid tumor at 32 with odds of 1 in 3 million. Hydrocephalus. Aphasia. 3 brain surgeries. 2 in the span of 6 months. And through it all, Henry kept giving readings and appearing on television. But there is one reading that still haunts him, one failure that he cannot explain away, one moment when the connection went silent and the consequences were devastating. It is the story he has told only a few times, and it may be the most important thing he has ever revealed about himself. Tyler Henry's biggest failure. For all his celebrity clients and television shows, Tyler Henry's life has been marked by losses that no medium could have predicted. The first and deepest came when he was still a teenager. His first love, the person he cared about most at that age, died of brain cancer. That death happened before anyone knew who Tyler Henry was, before the cameras and the tours and the books. It helped shape his entire perspective on grief, on loss, and on why he does what he does. But it also left a scar that has never fully healed. The fragility of his own body has been a constant companion. He was born 3 months premature, which he has cited as a factor in his lifelong health struggles. In 2020, he survived a collapsed lung, a condition called pneumothorax, after a suspected early infection during the lockdown. By the time he reached his early 30s, he had already endured more medical emergencies than most people face in a lifetime. But the most devastating failure of his career had nothing to do with his own health. It had to do with his family. And it exposed a limitation in his abilities that he has never been able to fully explain. Tyler's mother, Teresa Coelewin, was raised believing that a woman named Stella Gertie Nestle was her biological mother. That was the story Teresa had been told her entire life. There was no reason to doubt it. Until there was. Stella was a convicted murderer, sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences for the deaths of 2 people in the 1970s. In 2019, Tyler and his mother took a DNA test, and the results were shocking. Stella Gertie Nestle was not biologically related to Tyler at all. The woman his mother had believed was her birth mother was a complete stranger. The family's secret had been hiding in plain sight for decades, and no one knew. Tyler Henry, the man who claims to communicate with the dead, the man who has given thousands of readings to grieving families, admitted that his psychic abilities failed to detect this massive family secret. He could not have seen it coming because it was too close to him. He explained it this way. He could read celebrities. He could read people he has never met. But he cannot read himself or his own family. The tools that work for everyone else go silent when he turns them inward. This admission is rare in the world of professional psychics. Most would never admit to a failure of any kind. Henry not only admitted it, he talked about it openly. His personal life has also been marked by struggles that have nothing to do with the supernatural. He has spoken candidly about coming out as queer, not just once, but multiple times. His mother initially struggled to accept his choices, and Henry had to keep repeating himself to her. Coming out is never easy, but coming out to a parent who does not want to believe you is its own kind of pain. The irony of Tyler Henry's life is almost impossible to ignore. He has given comfort to thousands of grieving people. He has appeared on television shows watched by millions. He has written books that have sold copies around the world. He has sat across from celebrities and delivered messages from their dead loved ones with confidence and poise. And yet, the person he could not save was his own first love. The secret he could not uncover was hiding in his own family tree. The parent who struggled to accept him was his own mother. The battles that have nearly killed him are happening right inside his own body. Tyler Henry can talk to the dead, but the living, especially the ones closest to him, have always been the hardest to reach. Do you believe in Tyler Henry's psychic abilities? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the next video on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more updates.